You okay? Somebody fell down or something?
No.
You all right, brother?
The chair fell.
I was like, what's that, thunder? Shabbat shalom, family. Shabbat shalom. It's a blessing to be here. Praise Most High. Thank you all for coming out and supporting. If you want to be moist, just let me know. But praise Most High. What we're going to talk about today is David and Goliath. And just kind of think of this as a state of the union as to where we are in the awakening. So if you think back, and that was pretty much what the whole video was going to be about. It's going to kind of explain a little bit about how we got here, the awakening. I don't know about you all, but when I came out of the Christian church, I came into the awakening. There was just a handful of teachers. As far as like the information that was out there, we had the IUIC guys, we had the camps. They were beating the streets. They were using the scriptures, and praise the Most High. I do give them credit because one of the things I admired about them was that they knew the word. Mm-hmm. One thing you couldn't beat them on was that word. And then once we progressed past that phase, because with that phase, one of the critiques was, well, you guys don't have any. You don't have anything to support. You don't have any evidence to support your claims. All you have is these Bible verses, but you can interpret this way, and I can interpret it that way. But then once we had started getting a lot of evidence started coming out to support, that we are the people. And of course, forgive me if you guys have already heard this, but what I've learned is that, especially in light of the whole, Kyrie and Kanye, stuff that's happened, is that we have a whole slew of brand new folks. We call it baby newborn. And so, as most of us, at least that most of us that are in here were probably advanced, but just keep in mind that there are a lot of people that's stuck at day one, which means that they're in the information gathering stage. Right? And so it's a blessing that what I'm learning is that it's a blessing that when they came out of from wherever they were into the awakening, that they have a slew of resources to get. They have like movies. There's of course, Hebrews and Rose Ron Dalton Jr. There's I don't know if you all saw the Rebirth of a Nation, a rebirth movie called Reclaim the Throne. Reclaim the Throne. Thank you. I don't know why I'm forgetting that. I'm in it. Reclaiming the Thrones. And shout out to our elders, double honors to the chiefs. And so they have all these resources to use to confirm, to acknowledge who they are. And then once they get that, then they can start going onto the next steps. But that was phase one. Phase one was the initial awakening. And then, as far as like the powers to be, they weren't really worried about us. Because we were a niche. We were just small little pockets here and there. You got Boom was over here, Rebirth was over here. These other ministries were just kind of scattered around. And even though we were trying to, proclaim and allow a voice that we are the people of the book, we weren't really making a whole lot of noise. But then the tweet came. That infamous tweet. I don't know where you were when you started seeing all these Kyrie things start coming across your email, across your phone. Kyrie, anti-Semitic. Kyrie, claims, pushing this book talking about, these black Hebrew Israelites. And the beauty of it is that when this firestorm started, these people actually had resources to go to. Mm-hmm. So they turned up, and the first thing that the naysayers tried to do was like, well, no. I know they're saying that they're the people of the book, but they're not really the people of the book. They're just, these black folks, they just like to reappropriate history, and they're just taking our history to make it their own, that sort of thing. But then once they started doing the research themselves, they saw that there was something to it. And they couldn't refute it. And it stuck. It stuck. So now somebody was upset. Now the powers to be are upset. And so then there was the reaction to Kyrie's post. Right? And so it was over and above what people thought it should be. It was like, why is he being suspended for 5 games? How was this? 8 games? 6 games? Why was he suspended for 6 games just for posting a tweet and he didn't even put anything next to it? It was just a picture. It was just a link. And then it was a link to a movie that was on Amazon that it had 5-star reviews. It wasn't labeled anti-Semitic beforehand. It was only labeled anti-Semitic, I think it was like 48 hours after he posted. Right? And then he was supposed to know somehow that it was anti-Semitic before, the math is all messed up with that. So, and they're still trying to persecute Kyrie. And I was telling Bishop today, I was like, they suspended his Instagram account. Wow. They said without any explanation, they just suspended him. They're upset. They're upset. And what people are starting to realize, especially the black community, and this is why, you start to see this information start to get into, the non-Israelite community. And that is, they're starting to realize that there's a power that's out there, a powerful entity that, they don't want this thing to come out. And, anybody would, just when they just look at this thing, they're thinking that, well, you wouldn't react to this like that if there wasn't something to it. Right. And so that gives validity to what's going on. So needless to say, what some folks are doing now is that they're panicking, especially in the black community. Because they're starting to see things like, well, these power that be has all this, this influence. They have the media. They can cause Kanye to lose, what, $1 billion? Billions of dollars? Wow, I mean, how are we supposed to compete against that? And if you haven't noticed, this entity, has a front man, a front organization. This is one of the things most I'll get into in some of the upcoming lessons on the Benayah Israel channel. But that is the ADL. You've heard a lot of brothers, start calling out the ADL. And, one of the things I want to share with my brothers and sisters is that even though you may not know about the ADL, they have a long, long history with you. Long history. When you look back on black history, especially, for black folks, you'll find out that in the early 1900s was when a lot of these massacres occurred. Black Wall Street, Red Summer, Rosewood. All these things. It seems like when you look at it on a timeline, boom, it's like this one little lump in time where all this thing happens. And it just didn't come out of the blue. That was Punch Bowl. What you'll find out is that just before that hump occurs in the timeline, where you look at the rise in massacres and black Negro communities were burned down and lynchings went through the roof, right before the timeline, you have this little point in time where it says founding of the ADL. The founding of the ADL was right before that. And there's a connection there. That's why I say that there's no coincidence that when you are waking up, here they come. Here they come. And it's easy to look at this new Goliath that showed up. Because before the Goliath that we had to deal with was like the urban apologists, right? These different communities that we had to go against. But now if you're playing the video game, you've cleared stage 1. Now you're on level 2. New boss. ADL comes out. Right? And he's a Goliath. He's a big guy. Right? Big guy. And so the question is, like, how do you handle it? What do we do to confront this Goliath, right? That has seemingly had his hands in black history. And it's funny because, we see a lot of our brothers and sisters that are not, awakened. And they're seeing these attacks coming against the Hebrew community. And they're okay standing in the sideline thinking that they're not impacted. Wow. But think of it this way. So when they came against Kanye, and they got Kanye, the guy was it Adidas? Nike was it? Yeah, no, it was Adidas or Nike? Adidas. So they got Adidas to terminate this contract, and like the ADL, they praised it. They actually have a video on it, saying, "Hey, we did this, with your help," and kind of pointed to some of their followers. And they got him to drop, Kanye. But what they don't tell you is that when they dropped Kanye, and the reason why Adidas was, not so quick to drop him was because if you're dealing with a corporation, you're dealing with people. Like if I'm going to drop a whole product, that's going to impact a whole lot of people. So when they dropped him, probably I think maybe like a week later, they announced that they were laying off 143 people.